Hi, my name is Jessica Sikora, and I'm here with Unbound Global, and we are going to talk to Kenny and Julia Byler. They are Ignite partners who have been faithful supporters of Unbound's work for almost 6 years. And I'm so excited for you to hear from them about their heart to impact human trafficking and the ways that they've partnered with Unbound to do so. So, Kenny, Julia, tell us a little bit about yourselves, your family, where you are, and sort of how you got connected with Unbound.
Yeah, thanks so much. Julie and I are teachers for the Department of Defense. That means we get to teach U.S. military families and international students that are associated with the bases. So we moved from Waco, Texas, and moved to Naples, Italy in 2010, and we lived there for 10 years. And before moving here in the Kingdom of Bahrain in November of this past year, 2020.
Yeah. So like you said, we're teachers. We love our job. We're so thankful to get to live internationally. We've always had a heart for just international things. And so to be able to live this is just a dream. We have 3 kids of our own who are just awesome. We have Madeline, who is 11. We have Sadie, who is 10. We have Kaden, who is 8. They are all huge soccer buffs. They love to be active, and they keep us on our toes. So so we live here.
Yeah, you guys are really in it on the adventure, kids in tow, having a grand time. That's awesome. Awesome. 11 years overseas. That's amazing.
It's so fun. We wouldn't have it any other way.
Definitely a problem.
So fun. So a lot of times people will have memories or emotions that accompany maybe their realization, maybe for the first time in their adult lives, that human trafficking is something that is happening not just in impoverished countries, but in our communities in America and in first world countries overseas, that it really is happening everywhere. Do you remember, can you describe for us how you kind of came to that understanding and what it meant for you?
For me, I feel like I grew up very naive. Was not aware of things going on around me at all. I just was not aware. Very, very naive. And so when we got married, we were at Highland Baptist at the time, and we were a part of a Sunday school class called the Barely Weds. And I don't even know who initiated it, but for whatever reason, we went one night and we helped the ministry there that was being led out to go hand out goodie bags to prostitutes or to those at strip clubs. And so though it did not resonate with me at the time, I just thought, I am just getting to serve and woo. And so, but I do feel like looking back, I know that was probably my very first awareness of, oh, yeah, we could minister to these folks, who are in this situation. But for me, I would say my most prominent memory is when we moved to Italy in August of 2010. We were in area orientation, which is also called AO. Whenever you move to a new location, especially with the U.S. military, they make you go through this full week of training or just cultural do's and don'ts to help you be able to be a good guest in this host nation, because they're allowing us to be there. And one of the things they talk about is how prostitution is legal in Italy. And that first blew my mind. I thought, oh my gosh, who would choose that? I guess they're making money, but and it still was not something that I really fully understood. And through learning about that with that orientation, about a few months or a year into that, with the church we were a part of, they explained how all the prostitutes are there, but years ago they were able to keep their own passport. But the Catholic Church came in, all the priests came in, and they rescued all of the prostitutes, and they sent them back to their home countries, whether it be Nigeria or Ukraine. I remember those two being high, I guess, where the women came from a lot.
Yes.
And I thought, wow. But the mafia, who was very real, sometimes people think it's just in the movie, but it's not just The Sopranos, it's really for real. And they went and started recruiting women on these false pretenses. You come, I'll let you be a childcare worker, you can work in a restaurant, you can be a model. And they had all these women come, and they stole the passports this time. And so now these women are trapped. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's horrible. When I first initially saw the women, I thought they chose this job, but now I see they were conned into it, and you see them everywhere. And it just broke my heart, to see these cars pulling up and grabbing the girls, or girls getting out. And I just thought, it just really, really, really tore me inside. So that was for me. That was my initial.
Yeah.
Wow, it's powerful.
I would say for me, I think that I always remembered or thought that human trafficking happened somewhere like in Southeast Asia, on the other side of the world from where I was, and was never astute that it was happening in the United States of America, one of the leading first world countries that is quite developed and has everything going on. Until I do remember that one year, somewhere around 2010, maybe before, a Super Bowl was coming up, and of course, Super Bowl is like the best American sporting event of every year, right?
Right.
Something I definitely celebrate with my friends, and but I remember being taught one year that it's also one of the highly anticipated events for sex trafficking. And I think that when that came to my attention, I was just floored that how could something such a big event like the Super Bowl, it's such a sporting event, a fun thing for America, also be such a awful event as well that has become such a well-known yearly thing. And that really broke my heart. And that's how I first learned about human trafficking happening in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, hats off to the people that began that campaign to bring awareness around the Super Bowl, because I think your story probably is the story of a lot of Americans, that involvement around the Super Bowl might be one of the first places they heard about or were made to understand that sex trafficking, human trafficking is alive and well, unfortunately, right here in our first world country. So yeah, two very different, but very powerful and very striking stories of kind of that acknowledgement and understanding that human trafficking exists and that we have an opportunity to impact it. So thank you for sharing. What inspired you to participate in Unbound's work as a monthly donor? You know, we heard your stories of kind of understanding trafficking exists, and many people in those moments do have a heart to give something to an organization that is trying to serve survivors or resource a community to prevent and protect individuals from human trafficking. And that often would result like in a generous one-time gift or a couple times a year. But you guys have been monthly supporters, like we said, almost 6 years. And that's a big commitment. So kind of what moved you to that type of commitment?
Yeah, I think there were two events in our lives at the time that kind of led towards this decision. The first one is every day going to and from work, we would see these women on the streets, and knowing that what they were working for, and that really broke our hearts. And so having a visual every day to and from work and seeing these women, most of whom were trapped, who didn't have the choice of either, most of them, and that broke our hearts. We knew we wanted to be a part of something that could help them or people in their situation. The second thing that was going on in our life at that time, we were a part of a chapel on base in Naples. And the way that church works is quite different than the States as far as the financial aspect of it. The tithes that they collect do not go towards like paying bills or paying a pastor's salary, but instead it goes towards just a collective pot that they then vote on some ministries, different things to give towards. So talking together, we knew that we could talk to God as a family and decide what God wants to do with our funds, and hear from God what he wants to do with his own money. So then Julia, tell about how we.
Yeah. So after
Unbound.
we, had prayed about like where do we want our tithes to go towards? We settled on, we both knew that it would be human trafficking, but we didn't know really where to start. And so I reached out to a girl that I had known in our life group previously. Her name is Christina Crenshaw. And I just kind of reached out to her and I asked, hey, do you know of any ministries that we could potentially be a part of and start kind of, joining their fight against this? And so she told me about Unbound and told me that it had Susan Peters as their visionary and as the leader. I was like, oh, I know Susan Peters. I've kind of watched her from afar. I was lucky enough to have Anna Joy, her oldest daughter, was in my very first year ever teaching. And she was my student. And so that's kind of a small connection. And then I had watched her, we were at Antioch, I'd watched her from afar and really just respected her as a woman, as a leader. And I thought, okay, all right. So we decided that would be the ministry that we would choose. And I trusted that, I knew that, Susan Peters' vision would be put into practice. It's not just this fluffy vision. It was, what are we going to do now on the ground level to get it going, whether it be small now, and like the little engine that could, it was just, I knew that if we could join in on that, I trusted that her vision and that her hearing of what the Lord was telling her and her obedience would come to see its full fruition. And so we joined that, and
because we had been a part of giving in different ministries where we felt like it was not being a good steward of the money that God was giving towards that. We felt like those ministries were not being good stewards, and we knew Susan Peters well enough that we entrusted that her go-getter attitude would ensure that the money that we were giving towards would be used for that thing.
Right. Yeah. I'm very, very practical. I'm a very practical person. that's just the way I'm wired. And for me, that meant a lot to know that when we were able to give whatever we could give, that it would be used for what it said it was being used for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what I hear you saying is, yes, your hearts were personally moved to be involved with human trafficking relief. And it was sort of the practicality and the boots on the ground work that Unbound is engaged in that sort of made you feel confident that that's where you wanted your money to go, that it was going to be a mission that didn't stay, on a boardroom table, but it was going to be taken out to the streets where it was doing real good in real people's lives.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, we can't be there ourselves in Waco, but we can be a part of what God's doing through Unbound.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we are so appreciative of that and so thankful for you guys. So what would you tell someone in addition to what you've already said? Luckily, it sounds like you had a lot of great experiences and relationships and connection points to Unbound throughout your church family, your friendships. But maybe to someone who doesn't have some of those relational connects to this organization, what are some things you would tell them about Unbound that you could sort of say, hey, you could confidently give to this organization, even if you don't know the founders or you don't know the church that it began out of? What are some of the things that continue to give you that confidence outside of those key relationships?
Absolutely. So something that we've appreciated and that we really hone in on in this ministry, or the work that Unbound does, is the fact that they seek to bring restoration to lives that are broken, to lives that are hurting, to human beings who feel unloved, to feel unlovable. This ministry, this organization seeks to bring restoration for those people, and we are super happy to be a part of an organization that does that. So our faith is very important to us, and we feel like the gospel, the whole idea of the gospel is restoration. And so to be a part of the gospel in a practical way, like the ministry of Unbound, is something that is a great thing for us to be a part of.
Yeah. I just appreciate the practicality of the ministry. I'm thankful that, we can just be a part of what God's doing in that. I feel like I love that the outcome of this ministry is, as you're saying, restoring, but I love that they're taking these individuals who have been hurt, who have been abused, who have been used, and without their desire for that type of lifestyle, and yet they're being able to have therapy and job training to be able to be productive citizens of society. And so the outcome is that these women no longer have to be defined by this work that they were doing, right? They can now be defined by the healing process. And so I just love the outcome. The outcome is beautiful.
And to add to that, we feel that Unbound it takes a holistic approach. These human beings who are part of being trafficked, there's a hurt. There's something inside them that needs healing. And Unbound takes on the job of restoring someone for who they are as a human being, as a man or as a woman who deserves love, who deserves to be cared for, deserves to have a vision in their life. And Unbound comes in and gives that back to them. And so we are super proud to be a part of that, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Julia. We are so grateful for your generosity. And, we are able to be there every day, serving survivors and resourcing communities because we have fantastic partners on our Ignite team, which is our monthly giving team. And it really is, you guys are part of that, which gives us so much energy, so much encouragement, knowing that we're there every day and you're there with us every month. And that's really amazing. And we're so thankful for you. And we look forward to the impact we're going to have together in the weeks and years to come. And just to give you some encouragement about what's happening right now with Unbound, just locally, Unbound exists in 4 offices across Texas. We also have offices, as you know, in Mongolia, Cambodia, Indonesia, and South Africa. But just in our Waco office, last year we served 102 victims of human trafficking, all forms, labor trafficking and sex trafficking. Already to date this year, we've had an opportunity to serve 75 victims. So the need is great. The work is large, but together we can reach these people who are in such desperate need of healing. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
you
you
for
so
having
much.
us.